Here in this video, we are going to talk about my experience and work with a really powerful demon from the Hindu Abhichara Tantric tradition, known as Asura Kalanemi. Asura Kalanemi is a figure which is relatively famous in India, but not as much talked about. He is one of the leaders of the Asuras. Asuras are technically, for purpose of this video, I will describe them as dark gods, but their history in Hinduism is much more complex than simply calling them dark gods. But for the sake of simplicity, I will call Asuras dark gods. Asura Kalanemi is the enemy of Vishnu. He is opposed to Vishnu and he fought with Vishnu in multiple battles, in multiple epics. Their fight is having multiple versions, but the most famous one is the version according to which Kalanemi, together with his brother Adhaka, led the large army of dark beings, dark gods, and all kinds of dark spirits against the devas or the gods. And Kalanemi and Adhaka managed to fight with Lord Indra, the leader of the devas, and Asura Kalanemi managed to defeat Lord Indra, and then Lord Indra asked Lord Vishnu for help, and then Vishnu fought Kalanemi and defeated him. And according to some versions, Kalanemi submitted to the Vishnu. According to other versions, he simply retreated into the underworld. It depends who you ask. So I decided to summon Asura Kalanemi for the following reason. At 2016 or 17, I don't remember correctly, I stumbled upon application Summoning Demons, created by the Ion World Foundation, and I watched into the list of spirits provided within the application and as well as methodology. I was attracted to Asura Kalanemi immensely, but I didn't summon him in 2016 because I had other spiritual workings to focus on. And I, for a long time, was approached by being in my dreams, to be exact, which claims to be Asura Kalanemi, and this being should approach me from time to time and in my dreams give me certain lessons or certain advice and then leave. Those approaches were extremely uncomfortable and dark at times, and they were not pleasant experiences, so I decided to restrain myself from approaching Kalanemi for a long time. But recently I tapped into Abhichara Hindu practices and started studying according to the curriculum of the Ion World Foundation, because there was something within me which demanded to reach in contact with those entities. I started working with Pishachamayalkan, as you already know, and after Pishachamayalkan I started working with Rakashi Lankini alongside them, and then I was advised to work with Vinayakadantin, which I finished. I was instructed to summon Vinayakadantin 3 times, and then I was instructed by Mayalakan and Lankini to summon Asura Kalanemi. Now, I was extremely hesitant to summon Kalanemi due to really intense experiences I had in my dreams when being called Asura Kalanemi approached. And I was extremely hesitant because whenever I tried to draw Yantra of Asura Kalanemi, it was extremely difficult to draw. For whatever reason, his yantra was extremely difficult for me to draw, and energy which radiated from the yantra seems to be overwhelming. And I was intuitively repulsed by the energy, but regardless, my other spirit guides were insistent that Kalanemi should be approached. And they were insistent that I should approach Kalanemi to learn the mysteries of time. Now, I was really hesitant to approach Kalanemi due to all of the reasons mentioned. I truly felt that energy behind the yantra of Kalanemi, which is the yantra you see right now on the screen, was too overwhelming for me. But regardless, I was literally pushed by my other spirit guides into this path working. And yesterday, I summoned Asura Kalanemi for the first time formally. However, as I said previously, our interaction started long before that. And when I summoned Kalanemi, I kind of felt extremely intense and overwhelming energy. I also felt, how miserable my spiritual ascension is, how weak it is, how slow it is and pointless it is. And I asked Kalanemi about Kala chakras, which are the energy centers responsible for the perception and transcendence of time. And when I asked Kalanemi about Kala chakras, he told me the following. He told me that he is indeed capable of teaching humanity about Kala chakras. But before each and every one of us asks about Kala chakras, we should indeed ask Kalanemi first how to master the use of time in this physical realm. And Kalanemi instructed me to enter a deep meditative state and then become consciously aware of every single second passing. And at first it seemed to be extremely profane request almost, so I was skeptical. And as I went into the meditative state and started attuning to Kalanemi's energy in the ritual more and more, weird things started happening. First, I became almost forcefully aware of each second passing. Second, I became aware in a weird way that time is moving somehow in multiple directions, as if it is moving from the present to the future, as well as from the future to the present, and from the past into the future directly, while the present is skipped. And I also felt, as if I could physically feel, in a way, energy currents which make our observation of time possible. The time looked real and unreal at the same time. After that, Kalanemi gave some kind of a weird speech I didn't understand at all, because it was so beyond my comprehension that I would barely understand what he was talking about. In the middle of our mental conversation, he shifted from visions to words and from words to visions back again. But what he was trying to say, or what I picked up from what he said, is that time as we observe it is an illusion. But there is hidden and concealed set of laws which are objectively real and which govern the movement of energy within this universe. And due to those laws, or due to our inability to comprehend those laws completely, we comprehend them as a species when we incarnate into those bodies in a limited and simplified way, which result in our perception of time as we know it. That perception of time is false, it is an illusion, but it is a small reflection of actual metaphysical laws which result in our limited observation we know as time. So I don't know, did I phrased this well? What I kind of felt is multiple streams of extremely dark and heavy negative energy moving in multiple directions back and forth and kinda binding human race to observe time as we observe it, but it was allowed to happen by the Brahman because this heavy energy, which Kalanemi actually rules over, that energy binds us to this limited observation of time. But it is allowed because we need this experience on this plane. We need to experience illusion known as time. And that's how I understood Kalanemi's words. Now, Kalanemi, for obvious reasons, known only to him, spoke from out of time perspective. So it's really questionable how I could understand what he was saying. And there is probably a great deal of misunderstanding and misinterpretation in my words, so take everything I said here with a grain of salt. So Kalanemi technically rules those really heavy and dark currents of energy which bind us to this observation of time. And he also claims that time is fake and real at the same time. That our observation of time is definitely limited and fake or illusory, but there are actually objective heavy currents of energy which bind us to this illusion of time, and those heavy currents of energy which are objectively real are actually ruled by Kalanemi. So what he told me in the vision and after the vision's finished was something much dumber from my perspective and less complex than what I expected. But regardless, it was something I was obligated to hear, and it is something I am obligated to do. He told me that before we start asking about heavy currents of time and kala chakras and ways to know past, present and future, What we need to do is we need to become forcefully and consciously aware of every moment. Then we need to perform elaborate work to merge with Asura Kalanemi and his Tala. Then we also need to obtain complete mastery of how we use time in our day-to-day lives. And then, when we merge with Kalanemi for a really long time, when we attune to his Tala, when we obtained mastery of every single second in our lives, and when we definitely mastered use of time in our mundane life to the point of perfection, then we can ask about Kala Chakras, knowing past, present and future, and trying to tap into heavy currents which bind us to the observation of time. So he technically kicked my ass and told me how I have really weak control over how I spend my time. He was really harsh about me wasting time. He then gave elaborate tractate about how we as humans literally waste our time in this incarnation to an enormous degree, and he schooled me in a really harsh manner regarding my own waste of time. And he also instructed me to, in a really traumatic way, merge with him every time I have an urge to waste time in any way, shape or form. So right now I am really exhausted from work with Kalanemi, but regardless I will teach you according to my limited understanding how to come into contact and summon Asura Kalanemi. Now it is relatively simple. You need to start doing this ritual at 2 a.m. in the night. You have to draw the yantra you see right now on the screen. You need to enter a meditative state and in a relaxed manner gaze into the yantra while you repeat the name of the spirit. Asura Kalanemi, Asura Kalanemi, Asura Kalanemi, over and over again until you feel the presence of Asura Kalanemi in the room with you. And when that happens, ask him one of the following things. You can ask him to give you mastery of the mysteries of time. You can ask him to give you supernatural powers. You can ask him to give you instructions on how to use your time and master your own time in powerful way. You can ask him to curse your enemies, and you can ask him for wealth and material prosperity. You can also ask him to remove negative energy from you. However, I was personally instructed to ask him about mysteries of time, and I was schooled pretty heavily on how I waste my time, and I have to master use of my time in a physical realm, and I have to master and become consciously aware of every second before I truly tap into advanced mysteries of time. Now, once Asura Kalanemi is with you, once you feel his energy, I recommend that you should indeed ask Asura Kalanemi to merge with you as much as you can handle, and then ask him to empower you in a way he sees fit. And I think this is the best request you can have for Kalanemi, because Kalanemi is spirit who thinks and exists beyond time, and you are bound by the energetic currents which give you experience of a limited phenomena we know as time. So Kalanemi, who exists beyond that phenomena we know as time, is much more capable of seeing and understanding what you have to do than you are. And for my advice, if you ask me for advice, my advice is to simply summon Kalanemi, ask him to merge with you to the degree you can handle, and ask him to empower you in a way he sees fit. And if you continue doing it on a daily basis with Kalanemi, you will be greatly empowered and elevated. Also, please check the description of this video and contact Ion World Foundation. They are much more knowledgeable regarding those spirits than I am, and there are many powerful and knowledgeable people there. So thanks for watching, and see you tomorrow. Tomorrow I will more focus on summoning Kalanemi. This was just introductory video to Kalanemi himself. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. I take everything I say with a grain of salt, because there are much more knowledgeable and powerful people than me in the Ion World Foundation who can explain all of this much better. Thanks, and see you tomorrow.